Amos, chapter 1. The words of Amos, who was among the herdsmen of Tekoa, which he saw concerning Israel in the days of Uzziah, sovereign of Yehudah, and in the days of Jeroboam, son of Joash, sovereign of Israel, 2 years before the earthquake. And he said, Yahweh roars from Zion, and gives forth his voice from Jerusalem. And the pastures of the shepherds shall mourn, and the top of Carmel shall wither. Thus said Yahweh, for 3 transgressions of Damascus, and for 4, I do not turn it back, because they threshed Gilead with threshing implements of iron. But I shall send fire upon the house of Hazael, and it shall consume the palaces of Ben-Hadad. And I shall break the bar of Damascus, and cut off the inhabitant of the valley of Awen, and the one who holds the scepter from Beth Eden. And the people of Aram shall go exiled to Kir, said Yahweh. Thus said Yahweh, for 3 transgressions of Uzzah, and for 4, I do not turn it back, because they took into exile an entire exile, to surrender it to Edom. But I shall send fire upon the wall of Uzzah, and it shall consume its palaces. And I shall cut off the inhabitant from Ashdod, and the one who holds the scepter from Ashkelon. And I shall turn my hand against Ekron, and the remnant of the Philistines shall perish, says the Master Yahweh. Thus said Yahweh, for 3 transgressions of Zor, and for 4, I do not turn it back, because they surrendered an entire exile to Edom, and did not remember the brotherly covenant. But I shall send fire upon the wall of Zor, and it shall consume its palaces. Thus said Yahweh, for 3 transgressions of Edom, and for 4, I do not turn it back, because he pursued his brother with the sword, and cast off all compassion, and his displeasure tore incessantly, and he kept his wrath forever. But I shall send fire upon Taman, and it shall consume the palaces of Botzra. Thus said Yahweh, for 3 transgressions of the children of Ammon, and for 4, I do not turn it back, because they ripped open the pregnant women in Gilead to enlarge their border. So I shall kindle a fire upon the wall of Rabbah, and it shall consume its palaces, with a shout in the day of battle, with a storm in the day of the whirlwind. And their sovereign shall go into exile, he and his heads together, said Yahweh. Chapter 2. Thus said Yahweh, for 3 transgressions of Moab, and for 4, I do not turn it back, because he burned the bones of the sovereign of Edom to lime. But I shall send fire upon Moab, and it shall consume the palaces of Kerioth, and Moab shall die amid uproar, with a cry and with the sound of a ram's horn. And I shall cut off the judge from its midst, and slay all its heads with him, said Yahweh. Thus said Yahweh, for 3 transgressions of Yehudah, and for 4, I do not turn it back, because they have rejected the Torah of Yahweh, and did not guard his laws. And their lies after which their fathers walked led them astray. But I shall send fire upon Yehudah, and it shall consume the palaces of Jerusalem. Thus said Yahweh, for 3 transgressions of Israel, and for 4, I do not turn it back, because they sell the righteous for silver, and the poor for a pair of sandals, who crush the head of the poor ones in the dust of the earth, and turn aside the way of the meek. And a man and his father go into the same girl to defile my Kodesh name. And they lie down by every altar on garments taken in pledge, and in their house of their mighty one they drink the wine of those who have been fined. Yet I destroyed the Amorite before them, whose height was like the height of the cedars. He was as strong as the oaks, yet I destroyed his fruit from above, and his roots from beneath. And I brought you up from the land of Mizraim, and led you 40 years through the wilderness to possess the land of the Amorite. And I raised up some of your sons as Nevi'im, and some of your young men as Nazarites. Not so, O you children of Israel, declares Yahweh. But you made the Nazarites drink wine, and commanded the Nevi'im, saying, Do not, Nava. See, I am weighed down by you, as a wagon is weighed down when filled with sheaves. And a place to flee shall perish from the swift, and the strong not strengthen his power, and the mighty not save his life. And he who handles the bow not stand, and the swift of foot not save, nor he who rides a horse save his life. And the bravest among the mighty flee naked in that day, declares Yahweh. Chapter 3. Hear this, the word that Yahweh has spoken against you, O children of Israel, against the entire clan which I brought out from the land of Mizraim, saying, You alone have I known of all the clans of the earth. Therefore I punish you for all your wickednesses. Would two walk together without having met? Does a lion roar in the forest when he has no prey? Does a young lion give forth his voice out of his den unless he has caught? Does a bird fall into a snare on the earth where there is no trap for it? Does a snare spring up from the earth if it has not captured prey? If a ram's horn is blown in a city, do the people not tremble? If there is calamity in a city, shall not Yahweh have done it? For the Master, Yahweh, does no matter unless he reveals his secret to his servants the Nevi'im. A lion has roared. Who is not afraid? The Master Yahweh has spoken. Who would not Nava? Cry out at the palaces of Ashdod, and at the palaces in the land of Mizraim, and say, Gather on the mountains of Shomeron, and see the many unrests in her midst, and the oppressed ones within her. But they do not know to do what is right, declares Yahweh, these who store up plunder and loot in their palaces. Therefore, thus says the Master Yahweh, an enemy, even all around the land. He shall bring down your strength from you, and your palaces shall be plundered. Thus said Yahweh, as a shepherd rescues from the mouth of a lion 2 legs or a piece of an ear, so are the children of Israel who dwell in Shomeron to be rescued, in the corner of a bed and in Damascus on a couch. Hear and witness against the house of Yaakov, declares the Master Yahweh, the Elohim Zavaot. For in the day I visit Israel for their transgressions, I shall also punish concerning the altars of Beth El, and the horns of the altar shall be broken, and they shall fall to the ground. And I shall smite the winter house along with the summer house, and the houses of ivory shall perish, and the great houses shall be swept away, declares Yahweh. Chapter 4. Hear this word, you cows of Bashan, who are on the mountains of Shomeron, who are oppressing the poor, who are crushing the needy, who are saying to their masters, Bring wine, let us drink. The Master Yahweh has sworn by his Kodeshah, See, days are coming upon you when he shall take you away with hooks, and your descendants with fish hooks, and let you go out of the breaches, each woman before her, and you shall be cast out toward Hermon, declares Yahweh. Come to Beth El and transgress, to Gilgal, increase transgression, and bring your slaughterings every morning, your tithes every 3 days. And burn an offering of thanksgiving with leaven. Proclaim voluntary offerings loudly, for you have loved this, you children of Israel, declares the Master Yahweh. And I also gave you cleanness of teeth in all your cities, and lack of bread in all your places. But you did not turn back to me, declares Yahweh. And I also withheld rain from you 3 months before the harvest. Then I would send rain on one city, and on another city I would not send rain. One part was rained upon, and where it did not rain, the part would dry up. Then 2 or 3 cities would wander to another city to drink water, but they were not satisfied. But you did not turn back to me, declares Yahweh. I have smitten you with blight and with mildew. The creeping locusts have devoured your many gardens, and your vineyards, and your fig trees, and your olive trees. But you did not turn back to me, declares Yahweh. I have sent among you a plague in the way of Mizraim. I have slain your young men with a sword, along with your captured horses. And I made a stench of your camps come up into your nostrils. but you did not turn back to me, Yahweh. I have overthrown some of you, as Elohim overthrew Sodom and Amorah, and you were like a firebrand plucked from the burning, but you did not turn back to me, declares Yahweh. Therefore, I am doing this to you, O Yisrael. And because I do this to you, prepare to meet your Elohim, O Yisrael. For look, he who forms mountains and creates the wind, and who declares to man what his thought is, and makes the morning darkness, and who treads the high places of the earth, Yahweh, Elohim Zavaot, is his name. Chapter 5. Hear this word which I take up against you, this lamentation, O house of Israel. The maiden of Israel has fallen, not to rise again. She lies, forsaken on her land, with no one to lift her up. For thus said the Master, Yahweh, the city that goes out by 1,000 has 100 left, and that which goes out by 100 has 10 left to the house of Israel. For thus said Yahweh to the house of Israel, seek me and live, but do not seek Beth El, nor enter Gilgal, nor pass over to Beersheba. For Gilgal shall certainly go into exile, and Beth El come to naught. Seek Yahweh and live, lest he break out like fire upon the house of Yosef, and shall consume it, with no one to quench it in Beth El. O you, who are turning right ruling to wormwood, and have cast down righteousness to the earth! He who made Kemah and Kessel, and who turns the shadow of death into morning, and darkened day into night, who was calling for the waters of the sea, and pours them out on the face of the earth, Yahweh is his name, who is flashing forth destruction upon the strong, so that destruction comes upon the stronghold. They hated the one who reproves in the gate, and they despised the one who speaks the truth. Therefore, because you trample on the poor and take grain taxes from him, you have built houses of hewn stone, but you are not going to dwell in them. You have planted pleasant vineyards, but not drink wine from them. For I know your transgressions are many and your sins are great, afflicting the righteous and accepting bribes, and turning aside the poor at the gate. Therefore, the wise keep silent at that time, for it is an evil time. Seek good and not evil, so that you live. And let Yahweh, Elohim Zavaot, be with you, as you have spoken. Hate evil and love good, and establish right ruling in the gate. It might be that Yahweh, Elohim Zavaot, shows favor to the remnant of Yosef. Therefore, Yahweh, Elohim Zavaot, Yahweh said this, there is a wailing in all open squares, and in all the streets they say, Alas! Alas! And shall call the farmer to mourning, and skilled lamenters to wailing. And in all vineyards there is wailing, for I passed through your midst, said Yahweh. Woe to you who are longing for the day of Yahweh! What does the day of Yahweh mean to you? It is darkness and not light, as when a man flees from a lion, and a bear shall meet him, or entered his house, rested his hand on the wall, and a serpent shall bite him. Is it not the day of Yahweh darkness and not light? Is it not very dark, with no brightness in it? I have hated, I have despised your festivals, and I am not pleased with your assemblies. Though you offer me burnt offerings and your grain offerings, I do not accept them, nor do I look on your fattened peace offerings. Take away from me the noise of your songs, for I do not hear the sound of your string instruments. And let right ruling roll on like water, and righteousness like a mighty stream. You brought me slaughterings and meal offerings in the wilderness for 40 years, O house of Israel. But you took up Succoth, your sovereign, and Kion, your idols, your astral mighty ones, which you made for yourselves. Therefore, I shall send you into exile beyond Damascus, said Yahweh Elohim Zavaot, his name. Chapter 6. Woe to those who are at ease in Zion, and those trusting in Mount Shomeron, the distinguished ones among the chief of the nations, to whom the house of Israel comes. Pass over to Calneh and see. and from there go to Hamath the Great. Then go down to Gath of the Philistines. Are you better than these reigns? Or is their border greater than your border? You who are putting off the day of evil, yet bring near the seat of violence, who are lying on beds of ivory, and are stretched out on your couches, and are eating lambs from the flock and calves from the midst of the stall, who sing idly to the sound of the harp, having composed songs for themselves like David, who are drinking wines from bowls, and anoint with the finest ointments. Yet they have not grieved over the breach of Yosef. Therefore they shall now go into exile, with the first of the exiles, and the feasting of the stretched out ones shall cease. The Master, Yahweh, has sworn by himself. Yahweh, Elohim Zavaot, declares, I am loathing the pride of Yaakov, and I have hated his palaces. Therefore I shall deliver up the city and all that is in it. And it shall be, that if 10 men remain in one house, they shall die. And if a relative, or his undertaker, brings the remains out of the house, he shall say to one inside the house, Is anyone with you? And he says, No. Then he shall say, Hush, for we have not remembered the name of Yahweh. For look, Yahweh is commanding, and he shall smite the great house with breaches, and the little house with clefts. Do horses run on a rock? Does one plow it with oxen? For you have turned right ruling into poison, and the fruit of righteousness into wormwood, you who are rejoicing over a matter of naught, who say, Have we not taken horns for ourselves by our own strength? For look, I am raising up a nation against you, O house of Israel, declares Yahweh, Elohim Zavaot, and they shall oppress you from the entrance of Hamath to the Wadi Arava. Chapter 7. This is what the Master Yahweh showed me, and see, he was forming locust swarms at the beginning of the late crop. And see, it was the late crop after the mowings of the sovereign. And it came to be, when they had finished eating the grass of the land, that I said, O Master Yahweh, forgive, I pray. How does Yaakov survive? For he is small. Yahweh relented concerning this. It shall not be, said Yahweh. This is what the Master Yahweh showed me, and see, the Master Yahweh was calling to contend by fire, and it consumed the great deep and devoured the portion. And I said, Oh, Master Yahweh, please stop. How does Yaakov survive? For he is small. Yahweh relented concerning this. This shall not be either, said the Master Yahweh. This is what he showed me. And see, Yahweh stood on a wall made with a plumb line in his hand. And Yahweh said to me, Amos, what do you see? And I said, A plumb line. And Yahweh said, See, I am putting a plumb line in the midst of my people Israel. No longer do I pardon them. And the high places of YHWH shall be laid waste, and the Mikdashim of Israel shall be destroyed. And I shall rise with the sword against the house of Yeroboam. Then Amaziah, the Kohen of Beth El, sent to Yeroboam, sovereign of Israel, saying, Amos has conspired against you in the midst of the house of Israel. The land is not able to endure all his words. For this is what Amos said, Yeroboam shall die by the sword, and Israel certainly be exiled from their own land. And Amaziah said to Amos, Go, you seer, flee to the land of Yehudah, and eat bread and nava there, but do not nava any more at Beth El, for it is the sovereign's mikdash, and it is the house of the rain. And Amos answered and said to Amaziah, I am not a Navi, nor am I a son of a Navi, for I am a herdsman and a grower of sycamore figs. But Yahweh took me from behind the flock, and Yahweh said to me, Go, nava to my people Israel. And now, hear the word of Yahweh. You are saying, Do not nava against Israel, and do not preach against the house of YHWH. Therefore, thus said Yahweh, Your wife shall become a whore in the city, and your sons and your daughters fall by the sword, and your land be divided by a measuring line, and you die in a defiled land, and Israel shall certainly be exiled from its land. Chapter 8. This is what the Master Yahweh showed me, and see, a basket of summer fruit. And he said, Amos, what do you see? And I said, a basket of summer fruit. And Yahweh said to me, the end has come upon my people Yisrael. No longer do I pardon them. And the songs of the Haykal shall be wailing in that day, declares the Master Yahweh. Many dead bodies everywhere, thrown into any place. Hush! Hear this, you who are swallowing up the needy, to do away with the poor of the land, saying, when does the new moon pass so that we sell grain, and the Shabbat so that we trade our wheat, to make the ephah small and the shekel large, and to falsify the scales by deceit, to buy the poor for silver and the needy for a pair of sandals, and sell the shaft of the wheat? Yahweh has sworn by the excellency of Yaakov, I shall never forget any of their works. Shall the land not tremble for this, and everyone mourns who dwells in it? And all of it shall swell like the river, heave and subside like the river of Mitzrayim. And it shall be in that day, declares the Master Yahweh, that I shall cause the sun to go down at noon, and shall darken the earth on a day of brightness, and shall turn your festivals into mourning, and all your songs into lamentation, and bring sackcloth on all loins, and baldness on every head, and shall make it like mourning for an only son, and its end like a day of bitterness. See, days are coming, declares the Master Yahweh, that I shall send a hunger in the land, not a hunger for bread, nor a thirst for water, but for the hearing of the words of Yahweh. And they shall wander from sea to sea, and from north to east. They shall diligently search, seeking the word of Yahweh, but they shall not find it. In that day, the pretty maidens and strong young men shall faint from thirst, those swearing by the guilt of Shomron, who say, as your mighty one lives, O Dan, and as the way of Beersheba lives, and they shall fall and never rise again. Chapter 9. I saw Yahweh standing by the altar, and he said, smite the column head so that the thresholds shake, and break them off by the head, all of them. And the last of them I slay with the sword. Not one of them fleeing gets away, and not one fugitive of them escapes. If they dig into the grave, from there my hand takes them. And if they climb up to the Shemayim, from there I bring them down. And if they hide themselves on top of Carmel, from there I shall search and take them. And if they hide from before my eyes at the bottom of the sea, from there I shall command the serpent, and it shall bite them. And if they go into captivity before their enemies, from there I shall command the sword, and it shall slay them. And I shall lay my eyes on them for evil, and not for good. And the Master, Yahweh Zevaot, is he who touches the earth so that it melts, and all who dwell in it mourn, and all of it come up like the river, and subside like the river of Mitzrayim, who is building his upper room in the Shemayim, and has founded his firmament on the earth, who is calling for the waters of the sea, and pours them out on the face of the earth. Yahweh is his name. Are you not like the people of Cush to me, O children of Yisrael? Declares Yahweh. Did I not bring up Yisrael from the land of Mitzrayim, and the Philistines from Caphtor, and Aram from Kir? Look, the eyes of the Master Yahweh are on the sinful reign, and I shall destroy it from the face of the earth, except that I do not completely destroy the house of Yaakov, declares Yahweh. For look, I am commanding, and I shall sift the house of Yisrael among all the Gentiles, as one sits with a sheaf, yet not a grain falls to the ground. All the sinners of my people are going to die by the sword, those who are saying, evil does not overtake us nor meet us. In that day I shall raise up the booth of David, which hath fallen down, and I shall repair its breaches, and raise up its ruins. And I shall build it as in the days of old, so that they possess the remnant of Edom, and all the Gentiles on whom my name is called, declares Yahweh, who does this. Look, the days are coming, declares Yahweh, that the plowman shall overtake the reaper, and the treader of grapes him who sows seed. And the mountains shall drip new wine, and all the hills melt. And I shall turn back the captivity of my people Israel, and they shall build the waste cities and inhabit them. And they shall plant vineyards, and drink wine from them, and shall make gardens, and eat their fruit. And I shall plant them on their own land, and not uproot them any more from their own land I have given them, said Yahweh your Elohim.